Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. I'm Scott Fox, lifelong insurance nerd. Yes, I own these drums behind me. And no, they're not just a fancy YouTube set piece. I actually play them. And let me tell you, I paid more for them than some of the cars I've owned. I guess I have priorities? Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about something that could literally save your next gig and your wallet if you're a musician. Insurance. Now, before you click away, stick around because I've been there and a bunch of my friends have been there. And if you're not careful, you could be there too. If you caught the 2025 NAMM show, you know there's tons of awesome gear hitting the market. A quick look at the Sweetwater website and you see they've showcased 1,232 new products across 31 pages of musical gear on their website. That's a whole lot of shiny new toys to tempt a musician. But what happens if all that pricey new equipment goes missing or gets damaged? Picture this. You've just gone on an orgiastic shopping spree at the 2025 NAMM Show Sweetwater Showcase. You've bought yourself a brand new set of congas so sweet they cost more than your car, and you are not even ashamed. You lovingly load them into your car and head to the gig, but you can't resist a pit stop at 7-Eleven for a Slurpee and some gummy worms, because, let's face it, Slurpees and gummy worms are delicious. You run inside for 2 minutes, come back out, and bam, your side window is smashed. Your precious congas are gone, replaced with broken glass and sadness. Does your homeowner's insurance cover that? Spoiler alert, probably not. We're talking thousands of dollars up in smoke. This is the stuff that keeps me up at night. And guess what? There's coverage for this exact situation, if you know where to look. In this video, we'll cover the different types of insurance every musician should know. Whether you're playing gigs, running a home studio, teaching lessons, or touring with the band. Why musicians need special coverage. So your typical homeowner's policy might cover personal property to some extent. But once you start using gear for gigs, teaching, or other professional reasons, now you're stepping into business use territory. Many homeowners' policies have very low limits for business-related items, sometimes just a couple of $100s. A standard auto policy might also cough up a few $100 for stolen belongings, but probably not. That's nowhere near enough to replace your fancy new congas or that custom Strat. And if you're performing publicly, your risk multiplies. Think cables lying around, top-heavy speakers, or an overly enthusiastic dancer flinging themselves onto your pedal board. Gear insurance or equipment insurance. Gear insurance is basically what most musicians think of when they think of insurance. It covers theft, damage, and possibly those dreaded flight mishaps if you're touring. Some policies let you add or remove items as you upgrade. So if you snag a rare guitar or a new synth from Sweetwater's infinite gear list, you can keep your coverage up to date. Playing a wedding, corporate events, or festivals? Liability coverage is your safety net if grandma trips on a mic cable or if a speaker crashes onto an appetizer tray. Otherwise, you might be on the hook for hospital bills or venue repairs, and that's not really how you want to be remembered by the promoter. A lot of corporate gigs, wedding venues or amphitheaters, they're going to require liability insurance. Some insurance providers, like Thimble for example, offer annual policies or even policies that last a couple of hours for only $20 or $30. So you don't have to turn down that wedding gig just because you're uninsured. Inland marine coverage. Wait, what? Now let's talk about the weirdly named inland marine insurance. Here's a little history lesson. Centuries ago, 1688 to be exact, is when one of the first global insurance markets began. It was in Lloyd's Coffee House on Tower Street in the City of London. The establishment was a popular place for sailors, merchants, and ship owners, and Lloyd catered to them with reliable shipping news. The coffee house soon became recognized as an ideal place for obtaining marine insurance. Marine insurance was all about covering cargo on ships crossing the oceans. But as goods moved inland by roads and rail, insurers adopted, yet they kept the name marine. I guess they weren't very creative. Hence, inland marine. In modern speak, it means mobile coverage for property on the move, like your instruments and gear. Trust me, you don't need an actual boat for inland marine to apply. If you're hauling your super pricey rig from venue to venue, it's what you want. So when you look at a policy and say, why would I need marine insurance in Nebraska? It's to protect you from the ocean of tears if your rig gets stolen. After 2020, as a result of the pandemic, home studios blew up. In fact, part of Sweetwater's massive revenue surge was fueled by musicians outfitting their home studios. In 2019, Sweetwater had around 900,000 customers. In 2020, that grew to 1.5 million customers, and they did over $1 billion in sales. In 2021, that went up to $1.43 billion. That's a lot of gear and a lot of candy. But when it comes to covering all of that gear for loss or damage, standard homeowners insurance usually doesn't cover professional setups. You might need a special rider or a business policy, especially if you record bands or teach lessons. One spilled iced coffee on your console can destroy thousands of dollars worth of gear. And if you don't have proper coverage, that's a lot of gigs just to break even. Now, if you run a professional studio with employees, you'll need even more coverage. Public liability, property coverage, possibly workers' compensation. Basically, the more gear and people involved, the bigger the risk. Fun fact, according to a 2022 Music Connection poll, the #1 headache for touring musicians is theft. Homeowners policies might only pay a couple $100 for a stolen item. Basically pocket change if your gear's worth thousands. Specialized carriers like Thimble, Next, Arch, CNA, and 3 have packages specifically designed for us musician types. They get that a drum set may cost more than a car, and they'll actually insure you for that value. For my fellow insurance nerds, always read the fine print on valuation. A vintage guitar might need an appraisal or an agreed value policy, so you're not stuck with a fraction of what the thing is worth. So what did we learn today? Don't assume your homeowners or auto insurance will take care of your high-end gear, especially if you're using it professionally. Look into specialized coverage like gear insurance, liability, or inland marine, so you're not left sobbing in a 7-Eleven parking lot with nothing but gummy worms and a Slurpee to console you. If you found this helpful, do me a favor. Hit that like button, share it with your bandmates who have no clue about insurance or even how to spell insurance for that matter, and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future tips on protecting your musical gear and your bank account. I'm Scott Fox, your friendly neighborhood insurance nerd. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to head to 7-Eleven. For some reason, I'm craving gummy worms and a Slurpee.